You are 29 years old, sitting at a laminate kitchen table on a Sunday afternoon, grading history papers written by high school seniors who treat the French Revolution as a series of dry dates rather than a visceral collapse of social order. You use a blue ballpoint pen to suggest better transitions in their clumsy paragraphs. You drink lukewarm coffee from a chipped mug, call your mother every Thursday at 7 p.m. sharp, and consider yourself a man of unremarkable, sturdy virtue. This life ends on a Tuesday in November, when a boy in your third period class, a quiet student with ink-stained fingers named Elias, fails to show up. By Thursday, his desk is still empty. By the following Monday, a different student is sitting in that chair, and when you check the digital roster, Elias's name has been replaced as if he were never enrolled. You ask the principal, and he looks through you with eyes like clouded glass, telling you that there was never an Elias in that seat. You write a letter to the district board, then another to the Ministry of Education. 2 nights later, you return to your apartment to find 2 men in charcoal suits sitting on your sofa. They do not stand. One of them slides a high-resolution photograph across your coffee table. It shows your mother, through a telephoto lens, standing in her garden 300 miles away, holding a trowel. The man says only that the boy moved away and that an intelligent man would stop looking for things that aren't there. You stand very still in your kitchen, the blue pen still clipped to your shirt pocket, and you realize that the world is not a collection of facts, but a narrative managed by people who own the printing press. You do not write a third letter. 10 days later, the same man returns alone and offers you a job he calls information management. He tells you that your background in history makes you uniquely qualified because you understand how records are constructed and, more importantly, how they are dismantled. He offers a salary that is triple your teaching wage and mentions, with a thin smile, that your mother's house is in a high-risk area for zoning accidents that he could personally prevent. You accept the position because you have learned that there is no middle ground between the hammer and the anvil. You are given an encrypted handset, a clearance code that bypasses municipal firewalls, and a handler named Brecht who speaks only in directives. Your new life is defined by the overnight erasure. When a person becomes a friction point for the state, a journalist asking about a dam project, a dissident organizing a cell, or a bureaucrat who knows too much, you are the one who unspools their existence from the tapestry of the world. In your first year, you learn the mechanics of the administrative death. You do not carry a weapon. You carry the authority to re-index reality. When a name appears on your screen at 11 p.m., you begin the countdown. By dawn, that person must be a ghost. You start with the employment registries, then move to the housing databases and the National Health Service records. You make a phone call to a terrified bank manager who, after hearing your clearance code, deletes 20 years of savings history in 3 keystrokes. You contact the local precinct and have the person's birth certificate flagged as a clerical error. By the time the sun rises, the target cannot prove they own their home, cannot access their money, and cannot even prove they were born in this country. You tell yourself that since you are not stopping their heart, you are not a killer. You are merely a librarian of the void. You erase 12 people in those first 12 months, and each time you feel the partition in your mind growing thicker, separating the you who grades the world's errors from the you who still calls your mother on a new erratic schedule to ensure she remains a variable they cannot track. Year 2 brings the great unrest, and the stakes escalate from surgical removals to mass revisionism. The regime is under pressure from international human rights groups, and your task shifts to erasing the paper trails of entire protests. You are no longer just deleting individuals, you are deleting events. You spend 48 hours straight in a windless office rewriting the digital archives of the city's largest newspaper to turn a police crackdown into a public safety drill. You manage a team of 6 now. Young men who look at you with the same terror you once felt for the men in charcoal suits. You have become the man in the suit. You realize that your power is not in what you know, but in what you can make others forget.
The moral tension is a constant low-frequency hum in your ears, but you respond with increased precision. You develop a system of social complications. If a target has a family, you don't just erase the target, you corrupt the records of the relatives until they are forced to disown the person just to keep their own children in school. It is a domino effect of administrative misery, and you are the one who pushes the first piece. By year 3, the administrative death becomes insufficient for the state's needs. The dictator's inner circle is purging itself, and the names coming across your desk are people you once saw on the evening news. These are individuals with deep roots, judges, generals, and architects of the regime itself. Erasing them requires a level of detail that borders on the obsessive. You have to plant fake evidence of embezzlement in records dating back a decade to justify their sudden disappearance. You have to backdate resignation letters and forge medical records indicating a secret struggle with dementia. You are no longer just a librarian, you are a novelist of the macabre. One night, a file arrives with the name of the man who first recruited you. You sit with his dossier for 4 hours, the blue pen tapping against your knuckles. You know that if you hesitate, if you flag this as a procedural error, your own file will be the next one on someone else's desk. You proceed with the erasure. You watch his digital footprint vanish in a flurry of access denied messages. You realize that the system has no loyalty, only a hunger for consistency. The consequences of your work begin to manifest in the physical world. You walk through the city and see for rent signs on apartments you cleared 48 hours prior. You see families standing on street corners with suitcases, looking at the ground because their identification cards no longer scan at the subway turnstiles. You have created a class of unpeople, a shadow population that exists in the physical world but has no standing in the legal one. The psychological weight is no longer a hum, it is a roar. You stop sleeping for more than 3 hours at a time. You start seeing the back room of the world everywhere, in the way a waiter flinches when you ask for the check, in the way the streetlights seem to dim when you pass. You are the enforcer, the silent hand, yet you are the most trapped man in the country. You have built a cage out of deleted files, and you are sitting in the center of it. Now in year 5, the phone on your nightstand vibrates at 3:14 a.m. The screen glows with a single name, a high-ranking minister who was seen speaking to a foreign diplomat yesterday. This is a high-velocity erasure. You have 4 hours before the morning news cycle begins. You sit at your terminal, your fingers flying across the keys with a muscle memory that bypasses your conscience. You are stripping his pension, invalidating his daughter's university degree, and rerouting his property taxes to a shell company in a single motion. You are efficient. You are precise. You are the reason the regime's narrative remains unbroken. But as you finalize the command to purge his image from the official government gallery, you catch your own reflection in the black glass of the monitor. You look older, thinner, and your eyes have that same clouded, glass-like quality you once saw in your principal's face. You realize that while you have been erasing others, the state has been erasing you. You have no friends, no paper trail of your own that isn't a fabrication, and your mother hasn't answered her phone in 3 weeks. You are a ghost managing a graveyard of records. The erasure is nearly complete. The last file you will ever have to delete is your own, and the command is already being drafted by someone you've never met. The screen blinks. Operation confirmed. 100% data redundancy achieved. You stand up, put on your charcoal jacket, and walk toward the door. The sun is beginning to rise over a city that on paper has never had a single problem it couldn't solve. If the state can rewrite your past and delete your present, at what point do you cease to exist, even to yourself?